trains in India versus trains in China.
Railway lines carry more than steel wheels. They change economies, link cities, and reflect a nation's drive. Today, we focus on two giants. One runs the world's busiest network for people, and the other boasts the fastest trains on Earth. We will find out what makes each system tick, the choices behind tracks and trains, and where each railway stands today. But before we measure speed, scale, or supremacy, we have to go back, way back, because the true race between these two rail giants didn't start on tracks, it started in history. So, who laid the stronger foundation? How it all began. In 1853, India opened its first passenger line between Mumbai and Thane. At that time, 400 people boarded the train, and 100 tons of goods moved along the 3-foot-6-inch gauge track. British engineers chose this gauge to carry heavy loads and to move soldiers quickly. They used steam locomotives brought from England for that inaugural run. Its success led to new routes across the subcontinent. By 1900, lines had reached Madras, Calcutta, Nagpur, and other major ports. Railways linked coalfields in Jharkhand to steel mills in Bengal, and they helped farmers send grain from Punjab to growing cities. Early private companies like the Great Indian Peninsula Railway and East Indian Railway Company built railway lines. They constructed major stations such as Chhatrapati Shivaji in Mumbai and Howrah in Kolkata. In 1908, electric trains began on the Bombay Suburban Railway.
It can be maintained by more or less anyone. The steam locomotive is a labour-intensive machine compared with the diesel or the electric.
During World War II, railways carried troops and supplies, stretching the network before partition divided lines between India and Pakistan in 1947. At independence, the network covered more than 40,000 kilometres. The new government formed Indian Railways in 1951 to run every zone under one roof. In the years that followed, diesel engines replaced most steam locomotives on key routes. Officials focused on broadening reach into hill regions like the Nilgiris and linking remote towns in Assam. By the late 1960s, planners began to electrify busy routes. Electric locos took over the Howrah-Delhi main line in 1976, cutting travel time and easing maintenance. The shift reduced reliance on imported coal and improved efficiency at the busiest. Across Asia, China waited for its chance. The very first iron track appeared in 1876 near Tangshan. That 7-kilometre line carried coal from mines to local ovens and coastal barges. Soon, provinces and foreign powers built concession lines in Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Manchuria. In 1904, Russia opened the Chinese Eastern Railway across Manchuria. By 1949, Chinese leaders took control of all these lines and merged them under national direction. The new government drafted 5-year plans to spread tracks into the west and southwest. Between 1950 and 1970, China added over 20,000 kilometers of lines. Railway engineers carved routes through the Qinling Mountains to reach Sichuan's fertile plains. They laid steel rails along the Yangtze riverbanks to haul heavy cargo. Cities such as Chongqing grew into trade hubs thanks to these rail links.
Hello guys, welcome to Chongqing, China. It's the biggest city on Earth, which you've probably never heard of.
Expansion slowed in the 1960s, but then resumed strongly in the 1970s. By 1980, China had more than 50,000 kilometers of mainline track under one flag. Officials began to replace steam with electric locos on busy routes. They upgraded signals to central control from Beijing. That laid the foundation for the high-speed dream that appeared in the 1990s. In 2007, China launched its first bullet-style service between Beijing and Tianjin. It cut travel time from nearly 60 minutes to 20, leading to a worldwide look at China's new model. Both nations started with simple and small lines and grew into giants. India spent more than a century using steam before diesel and electric power arrived. China moved from coal lines to electric and then high speed in just a few decades. These early choices of track gauge, station size, and power type still shape each railway today. Understanding this shared beginning shows why India's and China's rails run on different paths now. But while China built speed, India built scale. One chased velocity, the other reached. And now, decades later, both networks face the same question from the world. Who built smarter? Tracks and reach. India's rail network today covers about 68,000 kilometers of track. Nearly 40,000 kilometers run on broad-gauge rails measuring 1,076 millimeters across. The rest once included meter-gauge and narrow-gauge lines, but most of those have been converted to broad-gauge in recent years. Engineers aim to link every district by rail. Busy corridors around Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata carry double or even quadruple tracks to handle heavy passenger and freight traffic. In rural regions, single track lines still serve small towns, weaving through fields and hills. More than 40,000 kilometers of India's lines now use electric power. That figure rose rapidly in the past decade. Officials plan to finish full electrification by March 2025. Diesel engines still work on shorter branches or on routes pending wiring. Electrified lines let trains run faster and cost less to fuel. They also cut air pollution in crowded cities. On the western dedicated freight corridor, electric locomotives haul long container trains at stable speeds, unloading at ports faster. India uses a zonal structure for management. 18 zones divide the network. Each zone runs its own workshops, signal depots and maintenance yards. Major hubs like New Delhi Station, Mumbai Central and Howrah in Kolkata handle hundreds of trains every day. Long runs between distant cities still rely on diesel on older routes. Though electric traction is spreading, coastal links from Chennai to Mangalore and from Visakhapatnam to Bhubaneswar now carry more traffic thanks to new track renewals. China's network stretches far beyond. It totals roughly 154,000 kilometers of mainline track. Of that, about 40,000 kilometers serve high-speed passenger trains. The rest carry both passengers and freight on standard gauge rails at 1,135 millimeters wide. Nearly 70% of China's lines run on electricity. Diesel traction remains on remote branches in far western regions, but planners aim to wire nearly every track within a few years. High-speed lines in China link major cities at top design speeds of 350 kilometers per hour. On the Beijing-Shanghai route, trains can run more than 300 kilometers per hour in service. Lower-speed passenger and freight lines still handle heavy loads into inland provinces. Double-stack container liners run between the western and eastern ports. Centralized traffic control centers, located in Beijing, Shanghai and Chengdu, monitor signals and train positions on these routes. China divides its railway system into 18 regional groups under the National Railway Company. Each group manages track upkeep, crew training, and station operations. Hubs at Beijing South, Shanghai, Hongqiao, and Guangzhou South see thousands of services each day. The Qinghai-Tibet Railway climbs over 5,000 meters, bringing both locals and tourists to Lhasa on electrified rails. Special oxygen-enriched carriages help passengers adjust to high altitudes. In both countries, doubling or adding tracks on busy routes is key. India has added second lines between Mumbai and Pune, Delhi and Lucknow, and Kolkata and Dhanbad. China has built quadruple tracks on sections around Shanghai and Wuhan to separate fast passenger trains from slower freight. Where land is tight, both railways have built elevated tracks or tunnels under cities to smooth flows. Together, these networks span plains, mountains, and coastlines. Each reflects choices about gauge, power, and traffic. India focuses now on electrifying every main line and adding freight corridors. China pushes on with ever faster trains while wiring remote regions. In the next few years, both will link more towns, cut travel times, and move more goods on steel rails that reach to every corner of their lands. But steel and speed are only part of the story. What really sets these railways apart is what actually runs on them, because behind the networks lie very different ambitions. So, What kinds of trains will they be building in the future? The trains they run. India's trains range from local commuter sets to fast intercity services. Among the newest is the Vande Bharat Express. This self-propelled train made its debut in 2019. It can reach speeds of 160 km per hour on suitable tracks. Air-conditioned coaches offer reclining seats, charging points, and automatic doors. It runs on Vande routes such as New Delhi to Varanasi.
गाड़ी संख्या 22,436 वाराणसी वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस इस प्रकार की और जानकारी पाने के लिए
And Mumbai to Gandhinagar. Other fast services include the Rajdhani and Shatabdi Express. These use powerful electric locomotives called Yuapa 7. Each service aims to cut travel time between major cities while keeping fares moderate. Besides these, India runs Duronto and Garib Rath trains. Duronto Express services link long distances with limited stops. Garib Rath trains offer air-conditioned travel at a lower cost by running more coaches per rake. For freight, India relies on box wagons, tank wagons, and flat wagons. Train builders also test tilting coaches made by Swiss firms on curving routes. In 2021, trial runs began for the metro. This electric multiple unit aims to serve short commuter routes at speeds up to 150 km per hour. It will connect satellite towns to city centres with frequent service. Most trains in India come from two state plants. The Integral Coach Factory in Chennai builds coaches with stainless steel bodies and modern interiors. Its workshops fit automatic doors, air conditioning, and passenger information screens. Diesel Locomotive Works in Varanasi makes DP and DDG series diesel engines. For electric power, Chittaranjan Locomotive Works in West Bengal produces WAP and WAG series locos. Private firms also join the market with designs under license. India aims to make nearly 1,000 coaches a year and more than 300 locomotives. Local assembly cuts costs and helps maintain spares quickly. In China, rail makers lead global output. The China Railway Rolling Stock Corporation, known as CRRC, combines two former giants. It builds high-speed trains, freight wagons, and metro cars in dozens of plants. Many CRRC models serve domestic routes and are exported abroad. Its high-speed units include the CR400 series, rated for 350 km per hour design speed. These stainless steel trains have automatic doors, Wi-Fi, and adjustable seats. China also runs a maglev test track in Shanghai. A Shanghai-built maglev train reached 431 km per hour in tests.
Shanghai, China. The Shanghai maglev train is the fastest train in the world, and you have to do it when you come to Shanghai.
Beyond high speed, China uses heavy freight locomotives on its main goods lines. Models such as HX-D1B and HX-D3G haul coal, ore, and containers. They can pull more than 100 loaded wagons in a single run. Passenger services on older lines use diesel railcars and CRH-2A units. In regions without electric wires, battery hybrid trains operate to maintain links. Urban lines in Beijing, Guangzhou.
China has hit another milestone in its ambitious bullet train network. The new line will whisk passengers from the capital.
And Shenzhen run metro trains made by CRRC. These carry millions daily, using automatic train control systems for safety and frequency. Both India and China build trains on a large scale. India added private firms to boost output, with companies like Titaga Rail Systems making stainless steel cars. In China, CRRC's scale lets it invest in research on new suspension designs and onboard systems. Both networks test new engines and braking methods to raise speed and cut wear. By localizing production, they keep costs down and reduce delays for spare parts. The result is a growing fleet ready for more passengers and cargo across vast lands. But here's the twist. Being fast isn't the same as staying fast. It's one thing to hit top speed and another to maintain it over thousands of kilometers. So who actually does? who's faster. Speed on paper can excite, but average pace tells how quickly a trip really runs. India's fastest train, the Vande Bharat Express, hits up to 160 km per hour on straight, well-maintained track. However, when it weaves through towns and pauses at stations, its overall average settles near 100 km per hour. On the New Delhi-Agra route, the Gatiman Express reaches 135 km per hour on open track, but runs closer to 115 km per hour once stops, and slower sections are counted in. By contrast, Rajdhani and Shatabdi Express services, powered by WAP-7 electric locomotives, log average speeds between 85 km per hour and 105 km per hour on longer routes like Howrah-New Delhi or Mumbai-Chennai. Track quality, signaling, and stop shape these averages. India uses traditional relay interlocking, upgrading to Kavachi on key paths. This automatic train protection system can take control if a driver misses a signal. So far, Kavach covers sections such as Mumbai-Pune and Delhi-Howrah. Once fully in place, trains may sustain higher speeds safely. However, until every major route gains this protection and track renewal, average speeds stay below maximum design limits. China's high-speed rail sits in a different tier. On the Beijing-Shanghai line, trains reach 350 km per hour. In service, they cruise at 300 km per hour between stops. The trip covers 318 km in about 4 hours and 18 minutes, making for an average of just over 300 km per hour. On newer routes such as Chengdu-Chongqing, CR400 trains cover 307 km in under 75 minutes, giving an average of 250 km. Even on mixed traffic lines, some passenger trains run at 200 km per hour or more, with average speeds above 150 km per hour on busy intercity routes. China's advanced CTCS signaling at levels 2 and 3 uses cab display units and moving block technology. This lets trains follow more closely yet safely, boosting line capacity and steady speeds. Centralized traffic control centers track every train, telling drivers the exact speed limits ahead. In regions testing CTCS-3, trains adjust speed continuously, so they rarely brake hard or idle at signals. Freight trains tell a slower tale. India's heavy goods trains carry coal and steel, but average 25 km per hour on main routes, limited by grades and mixed traffic. On the eastern dedicated freight corridor, speed can climb to 70 km per hour, thanks to double track and full electrification, cutting delivery times sharply. China's double-stack container trains run at 120 km per hour on major freight lines, helped by dedicated corridors and gentle grades. Some heavy-haul coal trains log 80 km per hour over long distances. When lines mix passenger and freight, slower trains set the pace. India aims to finish its western and eastern dedicated freight corridors soon, freeing up mixed routes. China has built many bypass tracks around major hubs so high-speed trains can avoid freight slowdowns. On the Beijing Ring, 4 tracks separate fast passenger and slow freight services. Real-world data shows China leads in both top and average speeds. India excels at moving huge numbers of people and goods on a network built over a century ago. With upgrades to track, signaling, and dedicated corridors, India's average speeds may climb toward 120 km per hour for fast services. China will keep pushing top speed records and expand high-speed reach into new provinces. India and China follow different paths when comparing fast runs and steady paces. One upgrades old lines and signals to raise the everyday speed. The other builds new tracks for ultra-fast service, separating traffic types. Both approaches shape journeys, ticket prices, and travel choices across vast lands. But here's where it gets interesting, because when you look past the speeds and into what's actually being moved, the real picture starts to shift. What defines progress? Speed or scale? Moving goods and people. India moves about 8 billion passengers each year. Some ride short commuter services near cities like Mumbai and Kolkata. Others book long-haul trains between Delhi and Chennai or Howrah. These services run on crowded lines, carrying workers, students, and families. In 2024, Indian Railways reported nearly 100,000 passenger trains daily, linking towns and villages. Freight moves, too. The eastern and western dedicated freight corridors span more than 2,800 kilometers in total. These routes carry coal, cement, and steel in long trains of up to 4,000 tons. Electric engines pull heavy loads at steady speeds, cutting transit times by half. Still, many branches share lines with passenger services, causing slower runs for goods. China serves nearly 3 billion rail passengers yearly. Major routes link Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. High-speed lines carry business travelers at 250 to 300 kilometers per hour. Regional trains and diesel rail cars work in western provinces. Freight volumes reach 4 billion tons. China runs double-stack container trains from Chongqing to the east coast. Heavy coal trains haul ore over long distances using modern electric locomotives. Dedicated lines and bypass tracks around hubs let fast passengers and slow freight move without delay. Both networks aim to expand capacity. India plans more freight corridors and more electrification. China will add new lines in Tibet and Xinjiang. As populations grow, rails stay vital to move people and goods across vast lands. Both railways invest in digital systems for scheduling, tracking, and safety. India has fitted train protection called KVE to stop signals passed at danger. China uses advanced traffic control that lets trains run closer on high-speed lines. Upgrades in stations add better loading equipment and storage yards. But while both nations race to modernize, only one is quietly laying tracks toward a future far beyond steel and speed. Beneath the surface, something else is happening. Can you see it? What lies ahead? India's rail network is set to change fast. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed corridor will stretch 508 kilometers, linking Mumbai's busy business zone to Ahmedabad's growing suburbs. The Gujarat section plans to open by late 2027, with the full link ready in 2028. Trains on this line may run at 320 kilometers per hour on straight tracks, cutting the journey to about 2 hours. Beyond that, the Delhi-Varanasi high-speed line remains on the drawing boards, with a planned 813-kilometer route, and stops at Lucknow and Agra. Officials aim for faster service, but opening is not due until around 2041. Still, early work on surveys and land studies could speed up later stages. Electrification across India finished in early 2025. Almost all main routes now use electric power, letting trains run cleaner and with less noise. The Kavach safety system covers most busy corridors, adding automatic braking if a train passes a signal in danger. In suburban zones, the Vande Metro will join local fleets near Delhi and Chennai. These electric sets will offer short-run service at up to 150 kilometers per hour, linking outlying towns to city centers with frequent departures. Trials of battery hybrid and hydrogen fuel locomotives are underway on remote branches. If successful, they may replace diesel where wires have not yet reached. China continues building too. The Sichuan-Tibet Railway climbs over 4,000 meters to bring Chengdu within a day of Lhasa. That 1,629-kilometer line should be linked all the way by 2030. Lines into Xinjiang will reach Urumqi and Kashgar, tying Central Asia to eastern ports. China's high-speed grid will soon exceed 40,000 kilometers. New maglev tests at 600 kilometers per hour promise even faster options. Hydrogen and driverless trains appear on regional lines. Both countries will invest in station upgrades, digital controls, and cleaner power. These plans aim to carry more people and goods, faster and greener, across vast lands. So, Two giants, two visions. One chasing speed, the other reach. But in the end, only one will define the future of rail. Will it be the sleek sprint or the powerful sprawl? And more importantly, which one do you trust to take you there?